Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, who had forgotten to turn on his studio lights. This is your sleep deprived and over the caffeinated host, Tony Cañas. Today I have with me Kelvin Johnson, co-founder and CEO at Brevity Pitch, for what is bound already. I know it's bound to be just a fantastic episode of Profiles in Risk.
I
Uh,
love it.
so, so Kelvin, first of all, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Doing fantastic. I have a confession to make, Tony. I also had a similar magic story to you, and it involved a slightly different story. It involved a girl. My crush in grade school decided like I will go out with you under one condition: you have to stop doing magic.
Um, how old were you?
Seventh grade. So
Uh,
that's when I stopped, man. And I unfortunately didn't have the great story of picking it back
Okay.
up, but
So
that
did you end up marrying this girl?
I did not. I did
Okay.
not.
So in that case, I'm gonna have to say, what up? I'm not gonna say it out loud. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for you. So my story is actually somewhat similar. My girlfriend of 13 years, when I got back into magic about 3 years ago, so when we were together for about 10 years, she was like, "Hey, how come I didn't know you were into magic when you were a kid? Why did you give it up?" Because I was into magic at about 7 years old, gave it up at about 8 years old. And my answer to her, and it's a very sincere answer, is I discovered girls. And I had to figure out how to go to college in order to have a good job, in order to get paid, in order to get those girls. And now that I've been with her for 10 plus years, it was a good time to get back into magic. But yeah, I wasted 33 years of my life. So it's never too late to get back into magic. No,
Never
and it's
too late.
actually, yeah, no, and it's actually really, really cool. So I ended up, so I got into magic 3 years ago. Then a year ago, a year and a half ago, I did a trick for Brian Falchuk, the CEO of PLRB at InsurTech Hartford, which happens to be next week. It's now InsurTech America, and I will be there. So anyway, I did that trick for Brian, and he loved it. And a couple weeks later, both my girlfriend and I got emails from his organization, from PLRB, in offering to hire me as a magician for the conference and offering to hire her as the keynote speaker. And we both did it. It was amazing. It was my first paid gig. It's when a year ago I became officially a professional magician, right? Like actually getting paid to do magic. So uh, at that conference, I end up meeting another magician, and he ends up recommending that I go to the Jeff McBride School of Magic and Mystery in Las Vegas. And the biggest class at the mystery school is 1,800 bucks. I got paid 2,000 bucks for the magic at PLRB. So I had 2,000 bucks burning a hole in my pocket. So I look at my girlfriend and I'm like, "Hey, do you mind if I do this?" She's like, "Go ahead." And it was 2 weeks later. Usually it's sold out months or years in advance, and somebody had dropped out. So I book it, I go, and it changed my life, absolutely changed my life. And when I landed in Vegas, I flew in 2 days before the class to get accustomed to the time zone. Never did, because I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Vegas is Pacific time. Uh, so I land, I get a rental, and I'm a little like, is this crazy? Like, am I being crazy? I'm 42 years old at the time.
Not at all.
Like,
Not at all.
is it too late? And I'm listening to while I'm driving around Vegas, I'm listening to Doug Kahn's podcast. Doug Kahn is a magician from New Orleans who recently moved to Vegas. His YouTube channel was very helpful in getting me started. And so I'm listening to Doug Kahn's podcast, and the episode that happens to be playing that day, or the latest episode at that time, is a 73-year-old magician who got into magic for the first time in his life at 70, and he is winning magic contests. So I'm like, okay, it's not too late. So yeah,
Never
it's
too
never
late.
too late. I wasted 33 years of my life, but it's never too late. So Kelvin, um, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm assuming so. Minneapolis in April could either be just gorgeous, gorgeous spring, or you could be under 3 feet of snow. So what is Minneapolis looking like on April 8th as we record this?
Well, over the Easter holiday weekend, I was in Virginia, Minnesota. Surprisingly, they have a lot of like cities that are named as states. So I was in
Okay.
Virginia, Minnesota
Uh-huh.
with where my girlfriend grew up, and yeah, it was snowing. So but in
It,
Minneapolis it wasn't, right?
oh,
So,
great. All right.
and then
All right. All
last
right.
week, I didn't have to wear a heavy winter coat, and then I wish I brought my heavy winter coat this weekend. So we're still in the midst of it, Tony.
That's the beauty of Minneapolis. Minneapolis is so I went to school in Iowa. I lived in Iowa for 10 years. I have many friends in Minneapolis because many Minnesotans come down to Iowa for school. It's cheaper.
Yep,
Uh,
yep.
and my best friend from high school now lives in Minneapolis, and my brother-in-law now lives in Minneapolis. So every summer we tend to go to my brother-in-law's lake house in Minneapolis. And my original co-founder from Insurance Nerds also lives in Minneapolis. When she got married, she's very much of an introvert. We get the invite for her wedding on December 20th in Minneapolis or in St. Cloud, I think, because she's from St. Cloud originally. And my girlfriend's like, "Well, we're going, right?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, you don't get it. Carl is an introvert, and December 20th in Minnesota, she doesn't want us to go, right?" And I called her, and I'm like, "Hey, I would totally be there if you want me to go, but I'm assuming that you're having a ceremony for grandma and you don't want anybody to come. That's why you're doing middle of December in Minnesota." And she's like, "Yeah, of course." So anyway,
Yeah, when I lived in
uh,
New York City, a lot more people came to visit me there, but I think it's an underrated
oh,
place. And it's been
in the summer, Minnesota is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I feel the same way about Vermont and Maine. I love going in the summer, but you people are crazy for living there in the winter.
yeah. Well, I was just in Atlanta, Tony. Next I was in Atlanta for a week, a couple of weeks ago. So next
Uh,
time I'm down there, we should definitely link.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Kelvin, we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What is brevity or brevity? What is brevity pitch?
So let's talk about some of the challenges we're facing in the insurance industry, right? So, when you're a broker, you're typically competing against an incumbent, right? So, how do you replace that incumbent? How do you articulate the cost of staying is exceeding, it's lower than the cost of switching? There's issues with when rates actually go up year over year because of an unforeseen event, and you need to be able to deliver that difficult conversation on why they need to continue to pay a higher rate but still stay. There's so many different high stakes conversations that you can think of that really is going to help you retain business or either grow your business. And just simply, sometimes you're just looked upon as a necessary line item expense. So how do
Oh,
you
without question, that insurance is the last thing any business thinks of. Now, if you're working in the middle market space, maybe they have a risk manager who is the one person in there that's actually thinking about insurance. But otherwise, we are the last thing they think of. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so when you think about those combined scenarios, every firm has their own standard best practice. They've reverse engineered what A players have done incredibly well, and they try and impart that wisdom, hopefully impart that wisdom and get people to train and make that consistent. So what Brevity is a place where people can actually practice those high stakes conversations with an avatar that sounds like a real life human being. And then not only do we help you standardize and scale the practicing through your personas that you're pitching, the different methodologies, you can actually practice, get scores in a rubric that you all consider what best practices are from a role play perspective. But then we also have a coaching side of our software. So what you practice, what you teach, is that actually showing up in the real world? So Brevity is AI role play and coaching software, but we do a really good job. I'm obsessed with highest and best use. So that's why I mentioned those three areas of three difficult, high stakes conversations that if you're not prepared and you don't do an incredible job, you can risk losing customers and existing clients.
That is fantastic, and it intuitively makes perfect sense to me for our industry. Absolutely. Uh, Usually, we talk about the features of the product first, and then we talk about the origin story. But in this case, I'm really curious about the origin story. So let's start there because you've been running Brewery Pitch for 5.5 years. and we've only been in the age of our Lord ChatGPT for about three. So you were doing this before AI really. I mean, AI existed for
During
60
COVID,
years,
started
but
the business during COVID.
before. So yes, I'd love to hear the origin story. How did Brevity Pitch come to be?
Yeah, so it's funny. Sometimes failure can be your biggest launching pad. So, but a little bit of quick background before Brevity, I was a CPA at Ernst and Young. That was my first job. My parents were like, "What the hell are you being a CPA? You can't stop
Given your
running your mouth."
personality, quite clearly, like CPA is the last thing I expected. Continue.
Yeah, same. So same thing with my parents. So I went into strategy consulting after that, then eventually became the fifth employee of a tech company in Denver, Colorado. Um, from there, I started my own freelance consulting shop where I was helping early stage entrepreneurs reach their next major milestone because I had this kind of a jack of all trades background from being in strategy consulting, being a CPA, and being an early stage employee of a fast growing tech company in Denver. I was helping other entrepreneurs, but what I was helping out the most with, Tony, was the pitch. So way before the AI buzz, I stumbled upon a book called The 3 Minute Rule, saying less to get more by Brant. I cannot pronounce his last name, Pivotich, who will not be happy with me there. But it was an unbelievable book on pitching, being clear, concise, confident, and compelling, and packing that in under 3 minutes. So I was helping out my customers with this approach called the 3 minute rule.
So
And
hold on. The pitch needs to be clear, concise, confident, and I missed one.
compelling.
Compelling, all in under 3 minutes. And the name of the book again?
3 minute rule. So he's famous for pitching the TV shows Bar Rescue, Biggest Loser, Amazing Race, to name a few.
Perfect. Okay,
And
okay, continue.
so I knew where AI was going before the AI buzz. So Brevity actually, the origin story started off from I actually joined one of my customers when I was doing consulting work. She fired me. I was a little bit too much. And then I had this
No
piece
way.
of technology. I had this piece of technology that I ended up creating with a developer to help these entrepreneurs craft and deliver a persuasive pitch and presentation. So Brevity's real first product we brought to market was actually an AI powered pitch software, really helping people focus on the story, content, and messaging, where there was so much of an emphasis on the deck. How do you articulate what you do, why it matters, without having a deck? And that process actually made the deck creation more effective because you could actually visualize with what you were doing with spoken word. So that was our first product we brought to market. I led Brevity with my heart versus my wallet to begin with. So we were selling that to college universities
Oh
and
my God. Hold on. I'm gonna steal that line. Because that is my story, right? Says the guy wearing the heart-shaped glasses, which are my actual prescriptions I wear every day. I created and led Insurance Nerds and Profiles in Risk and chatwithtony.com with my heart, not my wallet. Finally, Top Hat Recruiting came around, or rather, finally, I found the Top Hat Recruiting, which has equal heart and wallet.
yep,
Anyway,
yeah.
continue.
But going off of that, even quick tangent, like when we raised our first round, my favorite fundraising equation when you don't have any traction is whose heart, mind, and wallet have I had a positive impact on that possibly can write me a check. So I did this
Beautiful.
great
Oh my God, beautiful.
and I did this brainstorming exercise from like kindergarten, who in kindergarten, all the way up to I started Brevity at 31. Like, who in my life have I had a positive impact on heart, mind, and wallet, right? And the irony is like one of the third largest source of capital came from the parents of the kids I coached during my grad school program. So I didn't coach youth football thinking that these parents were going to write a, 25, 50 grand check into Brevity, but that was just a byproduct because I had a positive impact on their children. We went undefeated, and ironically, a few of those kids ended up playing Division One sports. But where was I with Brevity? Yeah, it started off as a pitch software, and then we had an interesting epiphany about year two and a half. A lot of investors were like, "Kelvin, we like you, we like your co-founder Eric Nelson, but this is not the right market. We're investing in you, knowing that you're going to have to eventually uh, pivot into enterprise sales." I wanted to pivot, but it needed to be done with a purpose. So we were actually working with a demand generation firm for our pitch software. They were cold calling on our behalf, and they expressed interest in procuring our pitch software. So I'm like, well, I don't want you to, because we're paying you money. I don't want pity software subscription fees. So I said, what's missing in our current state technology that would dramatically improve the performance of your sales development reps? And then that's when that CEO said, well, every Monday we have objection handling training via role play, but there still seems to be a wide variance between reps that get it and reps that don't. And then that's all I needed to hear. I went back to my co-founder, Eric, and said, hey, how feasible is it to create a software that can simulate a real human conversation? He said, give me 12 to 16 weeks. I'll whip up an MVP. And then that's when we went in the direction of selling a role play software really to help people prepare for those high stakes conversations so they're not burning their warm network or burning and practicing on prospects.
Makes perfect sense.
I don't know if that was done with
Fantastic.
brevity, Tony, but yeah, that's kind of my
Ah.
long-winded answer.
Oh, well played, well played. I'm sure that's not a brand new line, but well played. Uh, all right. Uh, I love the idea. It is incredible that we are now at the point where this works, right? I don't even want to say the software, where the AI is good enough to help us do this. All right. So when did you figure out that this thing you were building was a great fit for insurance sales, for brokers and agents? And yeah, tell me about how well it's worked in the insurance space.
Yeah, incredibly well, right? Just think about some of the typical behaviors and persistence that needs to happen. So we have a top 20 brokerage that leverages this technology. They started small, right? I'm a big fan of highest and best use, right? And where AI pilots fail is if there's not a strong enough why, there's rarely ever going to be a win, whether that's WHEN or WIN, right? So we started small with a top 20 PNC brokerage. 13 sellers, a mix of new sellers and a mix of folks that were advanced past that 4 year mark. And in the span of the first, I think, 45 days, they completed 150 practice conversations. So just practicing the price to value conversation. So you're just not being in the war of who has the best rates, but who actually can be the best risk mitigation and strategic partner. Um, so that was one area. And then like they also used it to practice drills. One is called the calendar war, right? So while you're at this meeting, can you get next steps scheduled during the meeting? And instead of just letting that prospect blow you off, send me a few times via email, just tactfully being able to say, hey, like, how's the same time work 2 weeks from now? Or how does the same time work a week from now? Blah, 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 blah. Right. So we got the habits and, in terms of, you know, aggregate statistics, we've seen a huge increase in meetings booked. You're talking about on average 200%. And then also just the sit rates, people that are actually showing up to meetings. There's been countless stories of people, exceeding goals, exceeding plan. And then also there's a big distinction between the teams that use it versus the teams that don't. So there's been a wide range of different statistics and stats that just show the effectiveness of people actually, using the tool to practice 2 to 3 times a week, but making sure you're practicing on the high stakes, situations, that people are working on
So
that are struggling with.
practice 2 to 3 times a week for how long?
we all need to some so the best thing that we've done and is we ended up producing this book right here, became an Amazon bestseller called The Sales Trap Prevention Playbook. And the purpose of that was based on a typical process from cold to outbound all the way to close. What are the various traps that people run into? And those are usually micro moments. So that is the price to value trap, or whether that is the commodity trap or the switching cost trap. These are the various areas that people can struggle with. So when you asking how long, the reason we actually created a coaching software that integrates with any live meeting is it then picks up if Niall needs to work on refining how he addresses the price to value trap, where somebody else needs to work on the calendar war trap. The software is picking up highest and best coaching feedback points. So from a leadership perspective, instead of guessing if what you practice or taught is actually showing up in live calls, we now have an integration with any, whether that's Fireflies, Gong, any live meeting listener that then picks up what they actually need to practice. So now you can have more personalized one-on-ones with your team, as well as a roll-up on a team. If you have a team growth meeting, you now know what's going to be the highest and best coaching points to provide to your team based on what's actually being communicated in the field.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So I am looking at the website. That's why I'm looking to my right, because I have a big screen to my right. So I'm looking at the website, which I love doing while we're having conversations. Actually, before we do that, implementation. Okay. So I'm assuming that this doesn't need to plug into my agency management system or anything. Like, this is a standalone solution, doesn't need to like plug into anything.
It doesn't, but it gets that much smarter when you do.
Oh,
Right.
so
So
tell me about that. Okay,
yeah, so you can
can
upload
you integrate with Epic or with AMS 360 or whatever?
we have countless of integrations. We work
Okay.
with, we insurance is one of our marquee target segments, financial services and insurance. So we have integrations with LMS systems.
And
Anything
what?
that can make it smarter is
Yeah. And
where
what
we
is the advantage of integrating into it? What can it do better by
So if you
being
for
integrated into our
LMS, that's an
system?
example. Yeah, for an LMS, for example, if you're teaching a certain topic and you have videos and content, if you want to quickly be able to, I'm a big fan of learn, do, prove. Learning
Mhm.
is what a lot of like LMS systems will have, but the do and the prove part, can you actually take the sellable product knowledge and show how you need to qualify? So being able to have that link in from Brevity to where you have the content and then you can just press a click role play button and then get a score to see how you actually adopted that methodology instantly. That's an advantage uh of an integration for LMS as an example. But then just like, when you can put in your entire sales playbook into all the videos, all the links, anything that you would traditionally see in a sales playbook, website links, URLs, that top 20 brokerage example. This didn't require an integration, but they got so nuanced in the different types of personas in construction, professional services, pitching someone from New York City or Philadelphia may be a little bit different than pitching somebody in South Carolina. So they got into the weeds of those personality nuances, and that's going to dramatically change how that conversation will go and how they need to adapt on the fly.
All right. All right. All right. All right. So looking at the website. Oh, actually, one other question I always ask I'm all over the place today. All right. So what is the pricing like? And I've learned after 800 episodes not to ask pricing, rather to ask pricing philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. Pricing philosophy is on a per seat basis. We typically start with, 20 companies that have like 25 producers, 20 to 25 producers or more is
Perfect.
kind of our starting place. But this is the best thing about it is there's so many use cases of how people are leveraging it. So some of the smart ones are using it for hiring assessments, right? So actually, instead of someone just believing someone is good and they've made President's Club, or you actually build a high stakes role play in our software, and then you allow people, you simulate how people would handle that high pressure situation. So people are using it for hiring assessments. They're using it for ramp up time. You know, the big thing in the industry is how can we get to year four as quickly as possible? So can we reduce that time spent? You know, you don't want to, you know, you think about the mentorship bottleneck. Some of your best producers
That
are,
let's pause right there because that is huge, right? Uh, my day job, I run a recruiting firm specializing in insurance and insurtech, I've been in the insurance recruiting space for about 9 years, and in insurance overall for about 15 years. And I branched out with Tony.com, which is my free career advice service, for 10 years or so. Um, but uh, we can help you hire for anything except producers. We want the producers. Jacobson Group won the producers. Most of the recruiters want the producers. There's one crazy guy that specializes in producers. Producers are hard to recruit for, and even the big shops, even the Aons, Gallagher's, Marsh, etc. Brown and Brown is a little better, but even the big shops don't really know how to train producers. Their success rate is awful, so they end up growing by acquisition. Why do you think Gallagher acquires, I don't know, 100 agencies a year? Because they have not figured out how to successfully train them in house, right? So basically, this is one of the problems. One of the problems is, how do we encourage a coin operated broker to mentor the next generation? It's a different skill set, right? One thing is, hey, can they ride along? Can they join you in meetings? Yeah, sure, whatever, right? But is that real mentorship, right? So yes, like anything that can help us, any use of AI or whatever our technology that can help us grab the best practices from the world and from our own successful producers and transfer those in a hands-on way to our new producers is massive. So yes, this
it's
is so
massive.
important.
It's massive, and you don't want to develop codependent behaviors as well. That's one of the big things that's
Oh,
super
that's a
important.
good point. That is a good point.
So you want to, when you've, the firms that have done a good job and they've reverse engineered what the A players are doing incredibly well, because one of the big things we're competing against when someone becomes a top producer is they typically have unconscious competence. So
Uh,
I believe, like, people are like, what are your biggest threats at Brevity? I believe it's unconscious competence or unconscious incompetence. So
uh,
that's why we created that book, right? In partnership with one of the big three, consulting firms, VCs that have had a lot of exits in the go-to-market space.
that's
That's why we
fantastic.
compile that information so people don't have, we can eliminate the guesswork on what people need to work on and why, right? So that is but yeah, you don't, you need something that can scale, and you need something that can not only where people can practice in a psychologically safe environment, but what's important is also making sure that what you practice, what you teach, is that actually showing up in the real world. You know, a few examples of how companies are leveraging the coaching side of the house is, we have a company in super fast growing company in Dallas. Um, they grew from 15 people on their sales team to about like 85 in a 2 year period, hyperscale. And they are launching new products. And one of the ways the influence you had as a leader at 15 people on your team versus 85 is completely different. So the reason the meeting analysis, which we call it the coaching side, is super important is you can have a new product launch, but people are so used to pitching product A and they're not even mentioning product B out of habit. So what this software does, it
That
gives
is
the
so true.
leader awareness of what percentage of reps
That
are not mentioning product B.
That is amazing because that is so true. I'm a salesperson, right? I've never sold insurance, but I have sold recruiting services to insurance companies and agencies and insurtechs. I have been a sales manager for an insurance carrier, managing the relationship with insurance agents, and I sell recruiting services for Jacobson Group and then for my own company. And that is so true. Your salesperson people are going to naturally sell what they're comfortable selling, what they've been successful selling, what they're getting paid well to sell, not everything and not what you want them to sell. That is so true. And unless you're writing along on every call, you just don't know. So anyway, continue. I think,
Example for me, even an example for me, and or like we've evolved. We would start off as a pitch software. We evolved in the AI role play, but then we recognized that practicing it without inspecting what you expect, there was a missing piece of our puzzle. So
of
we
course,
needed to evolve as an AI role play and coaching software. So even for us, like it's important. I built a flag for our own team. Is like, are we mentioning AI role play and coaching and defining what coaching means? Even our team sometimes is not communicating that, but I got alerts set up on if that's actually happening or not.
that is amazing. That
Because then
I
you can
have not
personalize the coaching.
I haven't had any other guest share that. So AI role playing, I might have had one prior guest talk about, but this level, I've never. This is
Yeah,
really
it's the role play
really
and
awesome.
coaching, right? Like, think about even sports. Sometimes there's great practice players, right? They do all the hard work, but there's a disconnect when it comes to the real world. And we want to know. I always say in life and business, ignorance is not bliss. I got a board meeting in 2 hours from now, right? And sometimes what can happen in my own board meeting is I speak a certain game or I bring up a strategy. They're like, that sounds great, Kelvin. And then inspecting what I expect. And what AI has allowed us to do, as long as you have great clarity into what you need and why, you can actually pick that up with really good signals that then reinforce what your team needs to practice and why. One other use case, Tony, I want you to be aware of in that same vein is people leave leaders, they don't leave companies.
Absolutely.
So what our coaching software is expandable to. For me, I have 360 feedback that I was able to get a gift 360 feedback from my team. We can upload that 360 feedback, best practices, pitfalls to avoid based on the standards. And when I'm having a meeting with my executive leadership team or I'm having my own one-on-ones, am I are my behaviors putting my team in a position that's potentially psychologically unsafe? Because intention versus impact are completely different things.
Thousand
So now
percent.
the people that have real courage in the market are going to be uploading their company core values, culture into a meeting analysis and usually the biggest perpetrators of core values are CEOs and leaders. And they rationalize, oh, no. Actually hold yourself accountable to what you want others to do. And now we have AI that can actually pick up those signals and not necessarily rely on human input, because there's a dynamic with being a leader. Not everybody's going to give you that raw, honest feedback, but if AI can provide an insight on your ability to be a better leader, that's a slam dunk.
1,000%. 1,000%. So now finally looking at the website. Uh, so brevitypitch.com, prevent deal stall with conversation training on the revenue performance platform. Brevity turns every sales conversation into a revenue opportunity, sharpens skills, prevent lost deals, hit quota faster with AI-powered role plays. Fantastic. Unlock your potential with Brevity. Struggling with objections and practice. Yes, this kept. I have been sales trained at carriers, 2 carriers. I have been sales trained at the largest recruiting firm in insurance. I have been sales trained just several times. And one of the things that had never worked is the role plays. They're
Yep.
important. Everybody hates them. And they just don't. The way that they're done in the corporate world, they just don't work. Right. So having an AI that can patiently, without embarrassment, I don't get embarrassed, but some people do it with me 3 days a week, like 3 times a week at 6 a.m. or at 2 a.m. or you get what I'm saying? Like Friday at lunch, right? Like I don't have kids, but like pull out my laptop at the kids' baseball game, right?
Or do it in the car.
Exactly.
You,
Oh my
you,
God, yes. Oh my God,
So
yes,
instead of listening
exactly.
to Lindsay Lohan or Britney Spears or Joe Rogan,
Hold on. Well, Joe Rogan's a good one, but we are in the age of Tay Tay, so chances are Taylor, right? Uh, anyway, continue. So yes,
but you could just literally do a role play on the fly, just through conversation, like just
how
through.
long? How long does it take? Like what is my minimum bite size? Is it 10 minutes? 5 minutes?
You could, so we have ones that are super short. Like one of my favorite role plays was this time last year. I asked for a mid-year raise. I knew the objections that my board was going to provide me, and I literally
Oh
role
my
played
God.
it.
My friend, okay. You guys need this is only the second time in the history of this podcast that I give this advice. And both times I've given it what's it called? Uh live, okay. Uh like on air, kind of so to speak. Okay. You guys need a individual app, like not a corporate version, like sell it on the app store for regular people and charge me, I don't know, $9 a month, allow a 1 month subscription for $9 kind of thing, and have it let me practice asking for a raise. Oh my God, that is amazing. Continue and give me feedback.
I'm going to tell our chief product officer that, but the point is like you have to like, because it's such a new form of like technology. And before, to me, so to your point, role plays were awkward previously, right? Like it required, usually if you're doing it with a peer and there's a sense of camaraderie, either the role play is going to be insanely hard to where it's unrealistic, or it's going to be insanely easy. So we, in our technology, you can specify the persona's behavior by uploading one. You can upload a LinkedIn URL. It takes a best in class guess of the behavior and personality set of that individual, and then you can tweak it. Right? You could get as specific as I'm talking to a prospect that says a lot but doesn't say much, or I'm talking to a prospect that never answers my questions directly, and I have to unpeel the I have to ask so many
That's a
layering
big one. That
questions,
is a big one. That is
the
a
red
really, really big
herrings.
one.
So if that's the level of like nuance you can get to actually replicate a real scenario.
Amazing. Truly amazing. And in my experience, I haven't been through sales training at like a really big firm, like I don't know, Guidewire or uh IBM or like I haven't had the good luck of going to sales training in a firm that is like famous for their great sales training. So in my world, and I'm guessing this is the case for most agencies and brokerages, uh, what happens is there's on the schedule it says role playing. We show up and we end up chatting more than we role play because it is uncomfortable to role play, right? Uh,
It's requiring people to be a good actor, right? You know what I mean? Like
and we are. Let me tell you a quick story. So I learned a an important lesson a week ago today. Okay, so I'm a professional magician, active in Atlanta and in the trade show circuit. It's a side gig, but it's a side gig that's taking off. Last Monday, I get a DM on Instagram inviting me to appear on a rap video. There are plenty of rap videos recorded here in Atlanta, right?
yep.
I'm not a rap guy, but I immediately went like, that sounds cool. Being in a rap video would be really cool, right? All right. So I looked up the person on LinkedIn. Turns out she is for real. We chatted on the phone on Tuesday, and I got the gig. And she offered me about what I charge for a like 1 or 2 hour private party. And I'm like, for a corporate gig, I normally charge more, but I was like, how cool is it to be in rap video? So I say yes. Okay. And my call time is Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. I show up at 6:30 p.m. and little by little, I start realizing this is going to take a long time. Okay. They don't even start recording. Like when I show up, they're just kind of building the set. They don't even start recording until midnight, at which point I'm exhausted. Okay. And then we do it 130 times, 130 takes. And it does not seem that they're anywhere near done. After 130 takes at 2 a.m., I just took off. I'm like, pay me if you want to pay me. I appear in the video if you want me to. If you want to cut me out of the video, cut me out of the video. I'm done. Okay, so what is the problem? What is the problem? I'm a magician, not an actor. Okay, I expected a magician gig where I show up, I do an hour and a half of magic, I get paid, and I leave. Not an actor who puts up with doing the same crap 130 times. And my instructions from the director were so basically there's a Jeep, like a fancy Jeep. They've taken the doors off. There's a bunch of people dancing on the Jeep. Okay. The uh and then the director is calling on the megaphone numbers. One, two, I'm 11, I think. Yeah, I'm 11. So when he calls 11, I join the group and I light my fire wallet, do one trick with cards. I light the fire wallet, then I sprint some cards and do a fan, not very well, especially the 130th time. Then I do a trick with silks, and at about that time he calls cut. Okay. So my instructions are getting there, do magic for no one, for an invisible person, while everybody else dances around you without getting hit by the cars, motorcycles, horses, etc., that are going around this vehicle, uh, and do it 130 times. Oh, and if any one of the 50 performers, most of whom are not actors, most of whom are just performers, local performers in Atlanta, like local characters is what they call us. If any of us looks at either the rappers or the camera, which is up in the sky, then he calls cut and we have to do it all over again.
You know, that is
Okay.
exhausting.
So exactly, precisely. Now, a few of the people there are models. They know what they were getting into. A few of the people there are actors. They know what they were getting into. They slept the whole day, showed up at 9 p.m., even though they were called to show up at 6:30, showed up at 9 or 10 p.m.
They knew protocol.
because they are actors. I'm not an actor. So anyway, I completely get what you're saying. It's a very long way story when the story to say you can't expect your salespeople to be good actors for a role play.
No, at all. At all. So yeah,
That's the thing.
this is the first time that you can, do simulate a real human conversation. So there's no reason not to be prepared. But the trick, Tony, is really, I just stumbled upon this unbelievable book called Tiny Habits, and it's, I'm a
Okay.
big fan of it. I'm a big fan of Atomic Habits, but
I was going to say sounds like it. So what is Tiny Habits?
Tiny Habits. So I had a speaking engagement. But it's funny, this founder who gave me this tip is in Atlanta, runs a company called Ruby.ai. Sam, shout out to Sam Rodriguez. But he was telling me he's on to his second company. He sold his first one, but he worked, a big part of the reason for his growth. And the first one is he stumbled upon this PhD, BJ Fogg, on tiny habits. And I'm a huge, self-help productivity nerd myself, but tiny habits just seems to be a lot more applicable when it comes to behavior design. And he has more concrete examples of how to actually get someone to change behavior. And, he helped the founder of
Love
Instagram
it.
as an
Love
example.
it.
So
Tiny habits. I will definitely check that out. I love Atomic Habits.
this one's so much better, Tony. I gotta be
Really?
honest. Like,
The dude's a PhD. Okay.
and he actually
Yeah,
gives office hours to,
really?
yeah, it's selective to get into the office hours, but that's something I'm working on, currently
Fantastic.
right
All right.
now.
So the author is Dr. James K. Fogg, PhD. Fogg with two G's. Tiny habits that create changes. Discover the best small changes that will boost your productivity. Dr. James K. Fogg, and he is the author of Let Them, which my mother-in-law loved, and Ego, the Enemy Within. I'm gonna have to add that to my to-read list, and I'm gonna recommend that to a bunch of people. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm reading it and I cannot, I'm about halfway through. I have so many notes and ways that we can, you know, make this stickier in so many different regards.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. So going back to your website, we're starting to run out of time, but we're still good. Okay, so struggling with objectives and practice, lacking time to coach reps with traditional methods. Yes, of course. We are all struggling with objection and practice. We're all struggling with not having a good way to role play. We are all struggling with not enough time to train the newer people, and falling into common sales traps that stall or lose deals. Yes, of course we are, and anything that can help us get through those is fantastic. And then you've got some of the companies you worked with and what they said. SAP was able to transform its outbound strategies by incorporating Brevity role plays into their daily routines, resulting in a substantial increase in meetings set, 75% increase in meetings booked. Right there, you paid for this. Right there. Absolutely. Field polls dramatically enhance their sales outcomes and close more deals more efficiently over a 4-month period by leveraging Brevity's targeted strategies and advanced sales training. 450% increase in deals closed. Those are crazy numbers.
Crazy numbers.
Race recruiting happens to be in my world. Race recruiting improved outbound call volume and resume submission by a significant margin over a 3-month period by integrating Brevity's assignments into the recruiting process. 65% increase in placement. Like there's several mic drop moments right here, and I'm only on the front page. Holy crap, this sounds amazing. Listeners, if you run any sort of sales organization, or if you are in any sort of sales organization, point your leadership towards this. Ask them for this. Honestly, this
Thank you,
is
Tony.
amazing.
It goes beyond sales, right? Any enterprise conversation that's high stakes, and you want people to do it like your A players. We are the place to make those things
Love it.
become a habit.
Love it, love it, love it. And you can the system can learn from what works for my A players, right?
Without a question.
Amazing. There's a lot more in the website. People go check it out, brevitypitch.com. Go look at the different solutions. They have it divided by role for sales leaders, sales enablement, sales teams, business development, customer success, by industry. By the way, your by industry has financial services. I would love if you guys added a specific one for insurance. We're a little bit
Yep.
different, but we live within financial services. But uh, we think we're different. Let's put it that way, and we are. The balance sheet for an insurance company is the opposite of the balance sheet for a bank. Then again, you're probably mostly serving insurance agencies. So yeah, I would have by industry like specifically one for insurance agents and brokers, and by use case sales onboarding and sales hiring. All of this is fantastic. Then they have case studies, and a FAQ and a blog. So yeah, there is a lot here. This your marketing people are somebody deserves a raise. This is very 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 good. Um,
I will tell him. Well, he will hear this, Tony.
Fantastic, and your product person. Yes, you should have a differently branded probably, but a app to practice for asking for a raise, and you should totally name that the Top Hat Tony uh, uh, interview practice or you get what I'm saying, like give
Get
me
the
a raise
raise, baby.
practice. Yes, I would totally for free let you guys use my likeness for that, and I would recommend it to chatwithtony.com. Like that is something everybody that calls me for career advice wants, obviously. And how do they practice for that? This is amazing. All right, so we're kind of running out of time. Kelvin, this has been an absolute pleasure. Oh my God, you're welcome to come back on the podcast whenever you want. Uh,
Oh, thank you,
last
thank you.
last few words. What do you want to make sure we talk about that we have not yet covered,
What we have not covered.
or what is really
Practice.
important to
Yeah, yeah. What's
close?
really important to me is practice does not make perfect.
That is
Perfect
correct.
practice does.
Correct. And take it from the magician. Okay, you can learn the moves from YouTube. Okay, you can learn the move from anywhere. I spent last year, my girlfriend's sitting right here. I should have said out loud, even though we have separate finances. Last year, I spent probably 10 grand on either in person or virtual practice training with the best in the world in my field. With Jeff McBride, with Larry Haas, the philosopher magician, etc. Why? Because I live in an island in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't have a lot of magicians in Atlanta, Georgia, who can see me do it and give me feedback, right? And I have the discipline to put in the practice, but I needed the help to make sure that my practice was doing that I was practicing the moves correctly, right? Once I understand how to do it, I can practice it. But I right, you get what I'm saying. So yes, practice makes permanent. Perfect practice makes perfect. And if AI can help us get perfect practice for our salespeople, holy crap, that is the like if we hit a recession and you find your revenue down 30%, this is the last thing you'll cut because sales is that important.
Super. It's the lifeblood. It's the lifeblood.
Absolutely. Kelvin, thank you very much for your time today. Stay on the line.